Hi, today's video is about the film Brooklyn and moving abroad and being homesick, and it is sponsored by Lionsgate, but of course all opinions are my own. So first I want to talk a bit about the film. I actually got to see a screening of it, I think a couple of weeks ago now. In case you haven't heard of it, it's based on a book of the same title, and the screenplay was actually written by Nick Hornby. I actually haven't read the book because it wasn't really on my radar before, but I'm so excited that the film is almost out now because now I can talk to you guys about it. So the story is about a girl called Ailish who is from a small town in Ireland, and she sort of gets sponsored, it's set in the 50s, to go work in Brooklyn, New York. The people around her, her sister and her mom, don't really feel like she has a future in the town where she's now. There aren't a lot of jobs, and so when I think it's a family member or family friend sponsors her to come to New York, basically pays for her trip and finds her a job, that seems like the only right thing to do. And you can tell at the beginning that she is, you know, she's a lovely girl, she's quite shy, but she's quite naive about what she's going to do. She has no clue. Obviously she has to go on this really long boat journey, which has some of my favorite scenes. There's lots of seasickness, but mostly she's bunking with this lady who looks so glamorous, and the lady is talking about how her trip was such a mistake. Ailish thinks that she's talking about going to New York, and she says no, it was a mistake ever coming back. When Ailish finally makes it to New York, she actually gets to live in a sort of boarding house, is the best way to describe it, with a couple of sort of young single girls, and they live with this older strict woman who is supposed to make sure that they behave themselves, who's actually played by Julie Walters. There's loads of famous faces in this film. The job that Ailish has is to work in a fancy department store, and you can just tell she is not happy. Homesickness is really hitting hard. She really misses her sister and her mother, and they can only contact each other by letter, and it takes forever. Then slowly she starts making some friends and she gets a boyfriend, and she really feels like she's creating a life for herself. She's going to school, and slowly Brooklyn starts to feel more like home. But then, of course, without giving too much away, something happens and she goes home for a while, and there she gets a chance to see what her life might have been like if she would have stayed in Ireland. I definitely cried quite a bit during this film, especially towards the ending. It's so beautifully done and quite emotional. The score is amazing. I don't think it's out at the moment yet. I just tried to look it up to see if I could listen to it. Although there are a lot of sad moments, what I mostly remember from it is just the feeling of freedom. And Ailish's character, you can just see her slowly become more confident in herself and feels more at home in the situation that she's in. You can see all these little moments of happiness, and you can see her become a city girl. A lot of it is really funny. They go to these sort of really boring weekly dances. There's some quite funny characters in there. Julie Walters is really on her A game. There's some amazing scenes of them going to the Coney Island beach, which just imagine with like 50s pastel-y colors. And I have to admit that I also just spent a lot of time staring at Saoirse's beautiful face. There were so many amazing dresses and the makeup was outstanding. Obviously I can relate to this film quite a lot. In case some of you don't know, 3 years ago I moved to London from a small town in the Netherlands, like a seaside town, and I moved to London to see what job opportunities I would have here. I had just graduated and I knew I wanted to work in publishing, and London seemed like the place to be. And I had actually never moved out of my parents' house before I moved to London. I'd only ever lived away from my parents for 3 months when I went to the US to study abroad. Moving abroad can be such a shock, and it's mostly the little things. Like, I still don't have the hang of what shops I should go to here. And you're looking for something very specific and you think, oh, if I was in the Netherlands I would know exactly what shop to go to, and here I have to ask my friends. In the film I really enjoyed the scene where she's back in her hometown and she's wearing this beautiful like blue pastel-y dress and crazy sunglasses that have a cat eye, and you can see her walking down the street, and obviously people can tell that she doesn't quite fit in anymore. This is such a stupid thing, but I definitely remember going back to the Netherlands and putting on some bright red lipstick in the morning and being on a bus and feeling like everyone was staring at me. Obviously it's hard to tell how much of that is just in your head, but sometimes when you go back home you feel really out of place. I remember going back and seeing that loads of the shops that I used to go to when I was a kid had changed, but then again at the same time sometimes it feels like you haven't left at all. Everyone that you know is still living there. The town still has the same atmosphere. Fortunately for us, communicating with people back home is so much easier now. I can't imagine what it would be like if you had to do it all by letters and you had to wait for ages to get them. One of my favorite quotes is one by Ailish when she's talking about feeling homesick, and she says something like, "I wish I could stop feeling like an Irish girl that wants to be in Ireland." I've actually never been that homesick. I feel like I adapt quite easily to new places and I find it it quite easy to make a room really feel like home. You do at some point reach a crossroads where you think, I don't really know what my home is anymore. If someone would ask me, I would sort of say I'm from the Netherlands, but I live in London because London feels like my home, but I definitely feel like my roots are in the Netherlands. I also keep saying we when I mean Dutch people in general. Another really good quote from the film about being homesick is this one. Homesickness is like most sicknesses. It will make you feel wretched, and then it will move on to someone else. I would love to hear your stories about moving abroad. I'm sure that a ton of you have moved to different countries or moved from a smaller city to a bigger city, and I would love to hear what your experience with it was and if you had a really easy time or a really tough time. And also if you ever had any moments going back where you felt like you were really standing out. And of course I highly recommend that you go see Brooklyn. It's such a lovely film and I absolutely adored it. And Brooklyn is out in UK cinemas on November 6th. If you want to know more about the film, I'll put the trailer in the description as usual. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I'll talk to you guys later. Doei!